You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
We're working on developing a whole new zoning ordinance for the Rosemary District to provide opportunities for a higher density, but also provide, what the area needs: more open space, wider sidewalks, affordable housing, and other things.
New apartments are springing up in downtown Sarasota, but can young urban professionals even dream about being able to afford the rent? We'll put it to the test. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more about the exploding downtown Sarasota skyline in a moment. But first, our top 7 stories at 7. And we begin tonight with a longtime teacher at Brookside Middle School suspended for an alleged altercation with a 14-year-old student. It happened during a track meet the day after the Parkland shooting. John Russo says he saw an unidentified person heading towards students and ignoring his calls. It turned out to be a 14-year-old student who became aggressive and allegedly attacked him. However, the school resource officer says based on security camera footage, the student didn't appear to make any threats, and it was Russo who made first contact.
John's trying to protect his school. He's trying to protect the kids. And in this day and age, and the heightened awareness that they had that day, how can it become a criminal charge?
John Russo was charged with battery and now faces up to a year in prison. He has been removed from the classroom since February, pending the results of the investigation. The chairwoman of the Sarasota School Board wants to know how a teacher under criminal investigation in Manatee was hired in Sarasota. Bridget Ziegler is saying on her Facebook page, safety and security is the top priority, and she is disappointed a local teacher accused of possessing child pornography made it through the system. She is asking for a process to make sure hiring includes a screening through the Florida Department of Education's internal database, which flags any teachers under investigation, and to audit every hire who hasn't been through the database to make sure no one else slips through the cracks. An overnight shooting in Northport is being called a justifiable homicide. Northport police responded to a home on Hyde Park Avenue around 4:30 a.m. When police arrived, James Senra was found dead outside. An investigation is underway, but police say it appears to be a case of self-defense.
The gentleman who is deceased, we believe that he is the aggressor in this situation, and that the shooter in this case was in fear for his life and took action into his own hands.
So far, no charges have been filed against the alleged shooter, Matt Mullins. A Sarasota man is being charged with multiple burglaries. When deputies arrived to Hawthorne Street Friday, they noticed broken glass and blood on several doors and furniture inside the house. When deputies approached the suspect, he resisted, allegedly pulling out an 8-inch butcher's knife. 37-year-old Benjamin Black is facing multiple charges, including aggravated assault, resisting arrest, and burglary. Hundreds of law enforcement officers from across Florida gathered at the state capitol today to remember 10 of their colleagues who died in the line of duty last year. Bagpipes played Amazing Grace while its survivors placed roses and a flower-covered memorial honoring their loved ones. There was also a 21-gun salute, and helicopters flew over the Capitol courtyard.
There's another way to describe what's going on. I mean, every day it seems like there's an attack on law enforcement, ambushes or whatever, and you can't describe it.
Today's ceremony was the 36th annual event honoring fallen officers. Over the years, more than 800 police officers in Florida have died while on the job. Florida's election season is about to kick into high gear. Candidates wanting to run for U.S. Congress must turn in their paperwork this week to qualify for the ballot. The qualifying period started at noon today and ends at noon Friday. The biggest race will be the fall matchup between Republican Governor Rick Scott and Democratic Senator Bill Nelson. Candidates running for judge, state attorney, and public defender must also turn in their qualifying information this week. Now let's head over to ABC7's chief meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first look forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. On this Monday, a gorgeous day today. You wish you could extend the weekend because it was beautiful over the weekend. Clear and calm out there in the waters. Just a few fair weather cumulus clouds now and again. Streaming in from the northeast to the southwest on a northeast wind around a large area of high pressure, which continues to remain in control right now. The pressure at 3011, it's 83 degrees, and the humidity is comfortable, 42%. A little bit of an east breeze at 14, not allowing that sea breeze to kick in. So temperatures still at this hour into the mid 80s to to lower 80s up and down the coast from 81 now in Cortez, 84 in Bradenton, it's 82 in Venice and 82 in Inglewood. The water temperature 78. That continues to inch up slower and will do so by the end of this week. It'll be in the 80s. We're looking at a large area of high pressure which is dominating the weather now over the southeast. It is a very high, strong high pressure at the surface and in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it will keep everything to the west of us as far as any kind of storm conditions moving in. And this ring of fire will keep temperatures near 90 degrees too, it looks like. And we'll see warm weather all the way up into the Midwest and into the Great Lakes. High temperatures there expected in places like Detroit and also Toledo and even in Toronto, 80-degree temperatures there. 71, the expected temperature at 11 o'clock tonight under fair skies, and a little chance for rain. Fire danger will start to get higher and higher too as we move through this week because we are not anticipating any rainfall. And this is typical of May, although temperatures will be running about 5 degrees above average.
And you can tell by looking at my lawn.
Yeah, a lot of lawns are not looking all the best right now, and looks like rainfall, no mention of it for the next 7 days.
Great. Thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, there are some nice apartments in downtown Sarasota, but can middle-income families afford them?
Every time you purchase a fishing license or register your boat, you're helping to preserve our nation's coastlines, lakes, rivers, and streams, protecting memories for generations to come. Learn how your participation in boating and fishing can help the environment at takemefishing.org/conservation.
So why should your choices be ordinary? Ghibli, the absolute opposite of ordinary.
Experience it at Sunset Maserati of Sarasota.
I can't believe they charged me this much. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Go to CashNetUSA.com now. If approved, you may get the money you need as soon as tomorrow.
Thanks. Who are you?
I'm CashNetUSA.com. Man.
Apply now at CashNetUSA.com.
Money's on the way with CashNet USA.
When my youngest, Addie, was 2.5, she was diagnosed with leukemia. When we first heard that diagnosis, you feel extremely alone. Walking in that Light the Night light with 6,000 people carrying lights, white for survivors, red for supporters, gold in memory of those who have passed. It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's hope that every year there are fewer gold lanterns. Your lantern will make a difference.
Start a team, join a team.
Help us light the night.
Looking for something fun to do on a Friday night? Then come to Music on Main, the first Friday of every month at Lakewood Ranch. Enjoy free live music, dancing, great food, and lots of fun for every family member, even the furry ones. Meet up with friends, enjoy activities for the kids, or make it a special date night. And be sure to stop by the ABC7 booth and say hello. Mark your calendars for Music on Main, first Friday of the month, 6 to 9 at Lakewood Ranch. Brought to you by ABC7 and these sponsors.
Download the all-new ABC7 First Alert weather app now.
Sarasota's Rosemary District is being transformed from empty lots to luxury condos and apartments. The only issue is who can afford them? ABC7's Taylor Tarragano has more. Taylor.
Good evening, Alan. In simple terms, most of the new housing going up is considered luxury, and the city admits there is a lack of affordable housing in downtown Sarasota. But they also added that the vision for the Rosemary District is just getting started. City living with a beautiful bayside view. Every renter's dream, right? It's a location numerous developers are now taking advantage of. Sarasota's Rosemary District, with new luxury apartments popping up on every corner. But the beautiful buildings have a lot of people questioning. Can you afford them?
We have about 10% of our units here for workforce type housing, where rents start around $1,100 per month for our studio units.
Staff here at Cityside say they have no target tenant, but house a wide variety from young professionals to retirees. That $1,100 for a studio, of course, filled up fast, and the next available apartment is a one-bedroom listed for $1,800 a month. They say it is affordable to live here, so there's an eclectic group of tenants that do.
A strong band's in the 25 to say 35 group, and then also in the higher bands around 55 years old.
The building boom started with this group. The owner of Cityside Apartments worked with the city to rezone the entire Rosemary district so he could build this 228-unit complex. The city agreed to higher the density of these developments, tripling the number of units per acre allowed from 25 to 75. Ideally, this meant more affordable housing for the working force, the young professionals.
You can spread your costs, your hard costs as well as more of your soft costs over a greater number of units.
Then 2 more developers got wind and started building the condos on either side of the Mandeville Beer Garden too. One is nearly finished, the Elon Rosemary, but this one is also a bit more expensive. Starting rent for a one-bedroom is listed online at $1,515 a month. We asked the Elon Rosemary for their input to include in this story. Via email, questions like, are these units affordable for, say, someone 24 years old, like me? But the response from their director of corporate communications was that they were, quote, going to pass on the opportunity. Efforts for a similar interview with Arcos, the other new apartments under construction on Central Avenue, went unresponded. But a quick look on their website showed the first available studio for $1,550. Way out of range for 62% of young professionals ages 21 to 40, according to this study conducted by the Sarasota Chamber of Commerce back in 2015. It shows that 62% of respondents needed a 1 to 2 bedroom apartment for under $1,000 a month.
We have to provide that kind of housing. Right now, I think there's a shortage of that, and we're looking for opportunities around the city to provide that kind of housing. The Rosemary District is a primary target for us.
The director of planning for the city of Sarasota says the building boom in the Rosemary District is just beginning.
The Rosemary District's really grown tremendously over the last couple of years, and there's a lot to do. There's a lot of housing, there are restaurants, there are places to work. We want to see that energy continue and that growth continue.
And it already is. The city is currently working on another rezoning ordinance for the Rosemary District that will allow for not only affordable housing, but wider sidewalks and retail too. We got the first sneak peek at these plans for the district's next big thing.
We do have site approval for 253 units and up to 10,000 square feet of retail.
Same owners as Cityside with an exciting vision for their footprint in the up and coming Rosemary District.
A vibrant, walkable urban community with all ages, a lot of vibrancy, and everybody's welcome.
And the city of Sarasota tells me it plans to have the new rezoning ordinance for the Rosemary District complete by the end of this year. They say they have already started to target and provide incentives to developers who have an intention to build affordable housing.
Taylor, thank you. In a moment, the rent is cheap, the neighborhood is nice and friendly. Of course, we're talking about the trapezoid, and it's next.
I work hard all day, and this is why. But taking care of my money has never been easy. Brinks knows what's valuable to me, making it easy to keep track of my money and pay my bills on time.
Here's to the strong, to the dependable, to the trusted. Your family counts on you. Who can you count on? The Brinks Prepaid MasterCard. With direct deposit, you can get your paycheck or government payments up to 2 days faster.
I don't have time to wait for a paycheck, cash it, and then run around and pay bills. Brinks knows what's valuable to me. Time.
Call now or go online to get your Brinks Prepaid MasterCard. There's no cost to order and no credit check. Load money onto your card and then shop online, pay bills, buy groceries.
I get a text alert every time our card is used, so we always know our balance.
And we're protected from unauthorized transactions. Brinks gives us peace of mind.
With Brinks, you can conveniently manage your money online and with the mobile app.
I get cash back on everyday purchases. Brinks knows what's valuable to me, saving money.
Plus, you can load checks in minutes, anywhere with mobile check load. Call now or go online to get your Brinks prepaid MasterCard. There's no credit check and no cost to order. And with a qualifying direct deposit, we'll upgrade you to Brinks Preferred with extra benefits. And in this TV-only offer, personalize your Brinks prepaid MasterCard with your photo for added security. Manage your money on the go, anywhere, and get the peace of mind you deserve. Brinks knows what's valuable to you. Call right now to order your Brinks prepaid MasterCard.
Call 1-800-282-9643.
There's no cost to order. Call now.
As a financial expert, I tell people if you want to be successful with your credit, Credit Sesame is the best place to start. Hi, I'm Lynette Kalfani-Cox, the Money Coach. Maybe you want to buy a car, a home, or just remove some financial stress. Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score. Then they'll show you what's impacting your score and suggest a strategy to better manage it. Credit Sesame even recommends lending options that can save you money. Best part? It's 100% free. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
Welcome back. It almost seems Sarasota's Rosemary District has blossomed in the blink of an eye. What were once vacant lots not long ago are now or about to be trendy condos and apartments marketed to the young, the hip, and the wealthy. There is no doubt when these brand spanking new buildings are occupied, it will transform downtown Sarasota with the sheer number of new residents shopping, eating, and enjoying what will be a growing local downtown. But with rents for a one-bedroom apartment starting at over $1,500 a month, the obvious question is who will be able to afford them? And joining us for more are Sarasota realtor Ian Black and Dan Loback, an activist concerned about controlling growth in Sarasota. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. And Ian, let me start with you because on one hand, this seems incredibly exciting. You know, I drive by these new projects every single day, and I could only imagine when people are living in these units and shopping and eating downtown, it's really going to transform downtown Sarasota even more to an exciting place to live and to work.
Well, Sarasota is, Alan, reflective of what is happening in most urban environments or communities across the nation. So we're experiencing something similar here in Sarasota. The Rosemary District happened to be one, you know, you can't, if you look at Sarasota, it's difficult to go south, it's difficult to go west, and it's difficult to go east. So the logical place for Sarasota to increase its size and its economic vitality is obviously the Rosemary District.
My question, though, is with rents starting, as Taylor reported, a one-bedroom starting at a little bit more than $1,500 a month, who really can afford that? If you know, we know this is a very wealthy community, but if you're talking about young urban professionals moving in and you look at what salaries are around here, it doesn't seem to match up.
Well, I don't know whether that is altogether accurate, Alan. Your report, you know, talked with the city side people who would tend to suggest that they have a good cross-section of different types of income-related people maybe sharing apartments, young professionals. I know there's a land planner that has a unit in there. You have, you know, retired couples. You have younger professionals. I know that because we've just reformed the Rosemary District Association, and primarily there's, I think, 2 representatives from Cityside or residents who are young and vibrant and bringing a new energy to the neighborhood. What the increased density did was provide the opportunities for the developers to provide diversity so that they can provide a mix of 1 units, 2 units, 3 units in their projects.
Yeah, but with all respect to you, I mean, and I respect you immensely, you're not getting a diversity in terms of income. For that $1,500, you're getting a 570 square foot teeny little place. I mean, there's not room for more than 1 person. And then you look at the rents for reasonably sized apartments, and you're talking about $3,500, $5,000. So the rents are not cheap. And so the people that work in the restaurants, the blue-collar workers, the service workers in our community are not being provided a housing opportunity in that area.
Let me ask you this, because where these units are going up, which are really right down the street from here, before the construction began, they were eyesores, they were empty lots, not doing much of anything, one way or the other. Is it good to bring these buildings in and the vibrancy that will come with it.
You'd have that in any event with the market having rebounded. The Rosemary Overlay District that tripled densities from 25 units an acre to 75 units an acre started in 2014. And it's since that time that you've seen the real estate market rebound. Nobody knows that better than Ian. And so you would be seeing more vitality there, as you have, throughout Florida. The question is, what kind of development do you have? Does it serve a broad range of needs of housing in the community? And sometimes does it get to be too much? Traffic is a factor too.
I would respectfully disagree with Dan, no shocker to that. But the purpose of the Rosemary Overlay District was not to improve or increase affordability. It was to rejuvenate and reinvigorate the Rosemary District, which was left basically the poor stepchild of the city of Sarasota for many years. It was, when you look at the CRA that was created, I would say little or no money, comparatively speaking, was spent in the Rosemary District. So to enable developers to increase the diversity of offerings from smaller units to bigger units and larger units. If your density is 25 units an acre, the developer is mandated to build larger units that are even more unaffordable than what's on offer now.
Ian, let me ask you this, because it does occur to me that you're going to have an influx of people who can afford these rents. I would imagine these buildings are going to be filled up because they wouldn't have been built if there wasn't the demand out there. Sure. But I'm wondering where the people who work the landscaping and work the restaurants and the little shops that are all going to be doing business from all this influx, where are they going to live?
Well, obviously, the big concern is that a lot of them are living outside the community and then having to drive into the community to go to work, which is not an acceptable situation. And probably Dan and I may agree on the question of affordability. But at the end of the day, if we're going, affordability is a whole different issue, which necessarily I personally don't believe that either our city or our county have necessarily paid anything other than lip service to the question of affordability. Finally, I know at Sarasota County it is a priority with them. They're already making some significant land changes to zoning to enable or to incentivize or to make, for example, they've reduced the parking requirement for smaller units.
Dan, do you agree with Ian on that regard in terms of, be it as it may, the city and the county have not done a good job in finding enough housing for people who service?
That's because the development interests control the politicians. And so they're going to get everything they want. They're going to treat Sarasota County like a sardine can, not just within the municipalities, but unlimited urban sprawl. And that's what they're getting. I mean, in terms of Ian saying, let's pack them in here so that we don't pack them anywhere else. They're being packed in everywhere. And the traffic is becoming horrendous. And what we need are controls. And in terms of affordable housing, what we need is what's called inclusionary zoning. I've advocated this for decades, that for a developer to get density increases, they have to provide significant affordable housing. And the city is not doing that, the county's not doing that. The city's talking about it a little bit, but little small incentives you can buy your way out of cheap.
Ian, we have less than 30 seconds, but where is the saturation point in terms of how do developers know when they're not going to be able to build more because there's not the demand for it?
Well, one would like to think that developers are responsible and that they do their homework, and in most cases they're requiring financing, and to get financing you have to demonstrate that there's going to be absorption. I think the big question right now, approximately 1,000 rental units will be coming on the market approximately at the same time. That in of itself, we don't know the impacts of supply and demand, economics 101. You did not mention another project that is going on Fruitful Road, that is Bold Lofts, which my understanding is that they're going to be less than what you've quoted for similar units.
I wish we had more time, but gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about Friday's exclusive interview with John Peacock, who was fired from his head coaching position at Venice High School. We also spoke to former Venice High Indian Trey Burton, who now plays in the NFL. Peacock was fired for liking a tweet put out by one of his players. The tweet was viewed by many as racist, which led to his firing. We went to Facebook to hear your thoughts, and Ron says, I backed the coach even before Trey Burton said anything, and that is true. The politics in Venice are unreal. Preston says, but if it was the other way, you would not feel that way. A coach or parent should not ever condone the behavior. If he would have told his player to take down the post instead of liking it, maybe he would still have his job. And Keisha says, our family supports Coach Peacock and believe that it was a terrible mistake. Was that Coach Bradley intended? Sour grapes got a highly respected coach fired. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. We want to thank our first two guests tonight, Sarasota Realtor Ian Black and Dan Loback, an activist concerned about controlling growth in Sarasota. When we return, we'll have an exclusive interview with former Florida Governor and U.S. Senator Bob Graham right after we check the First Alert weather. So stay with us.
Each day, researchers make discoveries that bring us closer to the moment when all cancer patients can become survivors. Their progress is made possible with the help of clinical trials. Clinical trials are the brightest torch researchers have to light their way towards better treatments. And if you've been diagnosed with cancer, they may be your brightest ray of hope. Speak with your doctor and visit standuptocancer.org/clinical trials to learn more. Together, we can stand up for all of us.
I'll be right back.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Selfless service is the principle that guides Army National Guard soldiers to be ready whenever disaster strikes. They have a stake in the well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times. Selfless service. It's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
I can't believe they charged me this much. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Go to CashNetUSA.com now. If approved, you may get the money you need as soon as tomorrow.
Thanks. Who are you?
I'm CashNetUSA.com. Man.
Apply now at CashNetUSA.com.
Money's on the way with CashNet USA.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves some green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
We'll have our exclusive interview with Bob Graham right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. A full moon yesterday, and get a look at the shots that were sent in. This one from James White, who was out at Myakka State Park getting this one. It was known as the pink moon. It's known as the pink moon, and this is another angle of pink moon with some black-eyed Susans right there in the meadows, if you will. Damon Powers. The reason why it's called the pink moon, not because it turns pink, it's because the Indians noticed that the flowers, a certain kind of flowers, turn pink in the meadows at this time of year. Spot the International Space Station if you want. Got to get up awfully early, though. You have to get up in the early morning hour at 5:28 a.m. Tomorrow morning, duration 3 minutes. It appears west, moves to the northeast, the maximum height at 62 degrees above the horizon. Well, the sky should be clear for that. As a result of a large area of high pressure, we'll have this northeast wind. It is going to produce some cloudiness in the afternoon like we're seeing today. These are fair weather cumulus clouds known as, and things are going to stay warm across much of the southeast and now spreading into the Midwest, too. You'll notice the yellows and reds now across central U.S. and also over Florida. This is on Saturday. This is Sunday now, taking you through time, warming all the way up into the Dakotas, and then still staying warm to hot, if you will, across parts of the southeast and the Midwest. So this warming trend will go on for a while, it looks like, until next week. We do have a weak frontal system expected to move on across much of the U.S. Titan radar not depicting any rainfall. It's going to stay dry. That's the story, too. With this east wind and high pressure, we're going to see temperatures warm up and little chance for rainfall. Right now, we have just a few clouds around. It's 83. The humidity nice at 42%. East wind at 14. The sea breeze never kicked in. 30-11 on the pressure. That continues to rise. The high today was 89. It's well above the average of 83. Not close to the record, though, of 95 set just last year. Well, you can see this frontal boundary hanging out here into the Atlantic, stretching down into the central Bahamas. That's the cold front that we moved through last week, and that frontal boundary just kind of hanging right there. A lot of times, the tail end of a front, you can get a little tropical development, and this particular model showing an area of low pressure trying to kick up. There wouldn't be much if it did, and it looks like most models take it off to the north, just to the east of the Bahamas. In that case, the frontal boundary gets close to us, but then fades away. So the northeast has been dealing with clouds and showers. It's kind of a cold day in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, all the way down into New York today. Even some freezing rain mixed there at one point into central New York with some snow. And then out west, the storm track is really starting to fire up with some big storms expected and anticipated right there over Kansas, stretching off into Nebraska over the upcoming days. So this high pressure ridge stays with us, looks like right through the next 7 days. For boaters tomorrow, winds will be out of the east, a little bit brisk to start the morning off, 15 knots, subsiding late morning and into the afternoon. The 7-day forecast, not much change. Will be a little bit warmer on Thursday, and you'll notice the humidity coming back up a little bit on Thursday, so it won't be as pleasant as it was today. And then the weekend shapes up to be pretty nice, sunshine on Saturday, Sunday. Temperatures running about 5 degrees above average over the weekend, but still rain-free, it looks like. Alan will be back right after this.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score. It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach. Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think, I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
Hey kids, come learn baseball from the pros. The Bradenton Marauders are hosting baseball camp on June 5th, 6th, and 7th at Lecom Park. Boys and girls ages 6 to 14 will learn the fundamentals of hitting, pitching, and fielding from Marauders coaches and players at Lecom Park. Your camp fee includes a t-shirt, lunch daily, and 1 ticket to the Marauders games on these nights. To sign up, go to BradentonMarauders.com by May 14th. Sponsored by ABC7, your Suncoast News.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
To be able to just get my son here and not think about how we will pay for it, it just takes so much weight off of my family. St. Jude allowed me to focus on being a mom to Bryce. And sometimes I'm just in awe of the impact St. Jude has, not only on this community, but the world.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Welcome back. From the race for governor to Washington politics to world hotspots, there is no greater authority in Florida than former governor and U.S. Senator Bob Graham, Senator, Governor, thanks for joining us.
Alan, thank you for the invitation.
Let's first talk about the governor's race, and I know that you may have a favorite in that race. Of course, your daughter Gwen is one of the front runners for the race, former congresswoman from the Tallahassee area. Let me ask you this. Phil Levine, the former mayor of Miami Beach, he has been spending millions of dollars here and across the state, getting his name recognition up there, and it shows in recent polling showing that he's jumped to a lead. I would imagine that's got you concerned. I know that you have the Graham campaign has its calculation about when you go up on the air, but everything is about momentum.
Yeah, it's difficult running against a person who can self-fund and just write checks for whatever the cost may be. Gwen's not in that position. She's been working hard to get herself as well known as possible and to build her treasury so that she can pay for the cost of television advertising. The theory is that once you go up on the air, you need to be in a position to stay through the election, which means till late August. I think she's getting very close to being in that position, and pretty soon the viewers of Channel 7 will have a chance to see Gwen on television talking about why she should and will be the next governor of Florida.
If you were to talk about what her campaign is all about, what her central point is, what would that be? And I say that in the context, again, not picking on one of her other challengers, but Phil Levine made a big deal after Parkland to talk about assault weapons and dealing with that. When it comes to Congresswoman Graham, what is her essential argument about why she should be the next governor?
I think she should be the next governor because she has demonstrated the ability to bring people together to get a result. When she was in Congress, she was rated as the member of the Florida delegation who had the greatest ability, demonstrated success in bringing people together. She was 8th among 435 members of Congress in that capability. Whoever is elected governor is going to have to be dealing probably with a legislature of the other party, and whether you can actually accomplish all the things you talk about will largely be based on your skills of negotiating across the aisle. So I think, and on the issues, I think she has a very strong position. You mentioned gun safety, but also on education, where she has worked for 7 years in education in the public schools, as well as the economy and the environment. She's well prepared in terms of her knowledge of policy to be the next governor of Florida.
You know, people always talk about wanting both sides to work together for a common goal, but when you look at polling, it seems that both Republicans and Democrats, their core, their base, want people not to go to the middle and talk about compromise, but fight for whether it's Democratic values or Republican values. It's become such a partisan environment.
Yeah. It has become a partisan environment, and I think that puts even a greater emphasis on people who can overcome that partisanship. I do not believe the American people want a government of gridlock that can't perform the basic functions that they depend upon in terms of things the federal government does and the state government. I believe that Gwen is where Floridians want their government to be. I saw a recent poll within the last week that something like 75% of Democrats want government to be more functional. 75% of Republicans want government to be more functional. Gwen's going to be meeting that expectation.
Your take on the U.S. Senate race. Again, Governor Rick Scott is already up on television, and I see, as of today, the U.S. Chamber is also airing pro Rick Scott ads. You know, Senator Nelson is not up on television yet. He's been in office for a long time. You have served with him. How do you handicap this race?
I believe Bill Nelson will win. I think that he's done a good job for Florida. He is a senator who knows the state of Florida and knows the issues that are most important to our state, such as resisting offshore oil drilling, and has been a strong leader in that. He's facing somewhat the same problem that my daughter Gwen is, and that is a self-funded candidate who can write whatever amount of checks are required. And he's working to get into the position that he can go up on the air. Now, his race is not going to be until November, so he's got an even longer period of time to cover once he decides to begin his paid television advertisement. But the people who are watching this program and the viewers of Channel 7 are going to have lots of time, I'm certain, to see both Senator Nelson and Governor Scott between now and November.
And we continue with our discussion with Senator Bob Graham in a moment.
When money's tight and emergencies arise, CashNetUSA.com is available 24/7 to deliver quick loans for approved customers when they need it the most.
Apply now at CashNetUSA.com.
Money's on the way with CashNet USA.
You know, fortunately, this was my first job out of college, so I was able to come back home and work in my hometown. I wore two hats. I was sports director and I was a news anchor. I did that for a few years and then decided to go full-time into news. Well, I love our team here at ABC7. We have a great mix, and it really is a great mix of personalities, of experience that meshes really well into a really strong team. I'm Scott Dennis, and I'm here for you.
Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, what was once impossible is happening today for thousands of patients with blood cancer.
I live.
I live. I live. I live.
I live.
She lives.
Because of the research done by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the battle against blood cancer.
If you had a chance to support the research that is saving lives, what would you do?
Imagine a world filled with pillow fights, playgrounds, and the search for the perfect climbing tree. Every kid deserves that world, but 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger. At No Kid Hungry, we're committed to creating a world where every kid eats healthy food every day. We raise funds, we help families, and we lift up communities.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on MySuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at MySuncoast.com/dining. Watch Good Morning Suncoast on ABC7, weekdays starting at 5.
And we continue with our discussion with Senator Bob Graham. I want to get your take for a moment in terms of what's happening in Washington. Off the top, North Korea. I mean, this has been an issue that has bedeviled president after president going back many years now. President Trump was roundly criticized for the rhetoric he used in the last 6 months or so, but now we're seeing, for the first time since the 1950s, talks between the U.S. and North Korea and South Korea. What's your take?
Yeah, I think President Trump deserves credit for creating an environment in which not only the United States and North Korea, but South Korea and China, other interested parties are coming to the table. This is very encouraging. It was only a few months ago that we were talking about the possibility of preemptive strikes, of even nuclear war with North Korea. Now that we're at a point that we're talking instead about peace and denuclearization, maybe even reunification of the Koreas is a very important thing for the world, and I believe President Trump deserves to take a significant amount of the credit for that.
You know, given that, there are a lot of Republicans who say this is what is important. This is what's important to the American people and to the safety and the national security of this country, and they reinforce that the fact that the Russia investigation is, not that important, and that it's a distraction to what really is important to most Americans.
Well, I disagree that it's not important. I think George Washington will roll over in his grave if the allegation was made that a foreign power of that time, which would have probably been France or Great Britain, were trying to involve themselves in American domestic politics. I mean, there could not be any greater affront to our sovereignty than that. Now, the jury is still out with the various ongoing investigations as to whether, in fact, there was any complicity in the Russian involvement in our election, and what we should be doing about it. But I don't think it's a minor, insignificant issue. I think it goes to the core of our democratic system.
Here's a question about the Iran deal. You know, on one hand, we're doing something that we have really not done in many years in terms of reaching out and talking nuclear deal with North Korea, but at the same time we're talking about throwing out the nuclear deal with Iran. Is there a problem with the consistency of that message, and is there a message to Iran that, or to North Korea, that you can't always hold the U.S. accountable for the deals that it makes?
Well, you've just given my answer. I think there is an inconsistency of talking about junking a deal that was made just a few months ago. At the same time, we're talking to North Korea about negotiating a new, very similar denuclearization arrangement. If I were the president of North Korea, I'd have in the back of my mind, is this for real? Will the Americans treat us the same way they did the Iranians, go into a deal and then a few months later walk away from it? So our consistency and our reliability are at stake here, and I'm hopeful that people like the new Secretary of State may see the importance of viewing these two issues, Iran and North Korea, as Siamese twins in negotiation.
We have less than a minute left, but I did want to ask you about your ongoing attempt to investigate the Sarasota connection to 9/11. Obviously, the families are suing. You believe there is a lot more information about that family that was in Sarasota that needs to come out. Where does that stand, and what are your hopes that we're going to finally get real answers in terms of what was going on here?
I'm confident that we will eventually get real answers, and the real answers are going to point to Saudi Arabia's very deep involvement in 9/11. It could come out of a trial that's going on in New York where the families of the victims are suing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It could come out in a federal court which is considering the information that was gathered here in Sarasota about the involvement that occurred between 3 of the hijackers and a prominent Saudi family. Or Congress could pass legislation requiring a landmine of information relative to 9/11 to be released to the public. All those are possibilities, but from somewhere the American people are going to find the true facts, and America will be dealing with Saudi Arabia based on reality, not on press releases.
Former Senator, former Governor Bob Graham, thanks for joining us. It's always great to have you here in town.
Great. Alan, thank you very much.
All right, thanks. And that's Senator Bob Graham. Thanks for joining us. We'll have to take a quick break, and stay with us.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big, or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular. Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $15 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand with no surprises, and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular has received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service 4 times in a row. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and start your 30-day risk-free trial today. Call 800-457-2317. Go online or visit a Target store today.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score.
It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach.
Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think, I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
The skills you develop as a soldier in the Army National Guard can give you a head start on your career. Gain practical experience with technology and equipment that will give you a leg up in the civilian world. Learn critical leadership skills and to be part of a team. Serve your community and your country part-time while earning money for an education. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn about the paid training and career opportunities available to you in the Army National Guard.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now, let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Good evening, everyone. We are looking at a beautiful day today, and over the weekend, it was spectacular. We have just a few fair weather cumulus clouds moving in from the northeast around a large area of high pressure, which will continue to dominate our weather. Beautiful sunset tonight, and we are looking for no rainfall around here. Some showers down to our south along an old frontal boundary, but we're not anticipating any rainfall as a result of a large area of high pressure, which will keep our skies generally clear, like you see right here. Currently, we have just a few clouds around. It's 83 and the winds out of the east at 14. The pressure 30, 11. That continues to rise. Now, look at the clear skies from Ohio through West Virginia, the Carolinas, down through Georgia and Florida. That's a result of that large dome of high pressure. An old frontal boundary kind of hanging out here in the Atlantic, stretching down into the central Bahamas. We'll keep an eye on that. There's some showers that are expected to gather there. We could see pressures drop. There's a slight chance for a low pressure area to develop there. Some models are indicating that. But the big story will be this week, severe weather in parts of the plain states. And they're going to see some tornadoes there in Kansas. Across parts of Kansas, they're under the watch right now as far as that goes, and all the way up into Nebraska. Warm, moist air feeding around that area of high pressure continues to feed in, and that will be the boundary right there, that cold front, which will spark those intense thunderstorms. You can see the contrast in temperatures. Extremely warm out ahead of the front, cool behind the front, and these warm temperatures are going to stretch all the way up into Ohio and also into Michigan tomorrow, with high temperatures warming into the low 80s there. So for boaters tomorrow, we'll start off with east winds at 15 knots. They'll subside somewhat 5 to 10 late morning and through the early afternoon. And it looks like they'll try to switch around to a northerly direction, but won't have much luck of it. It will pick up back into the late afternoon, evening up to 15 knots. Seas running 2 feet, and there'll be a moderate chop on the bays and inland waters. Water temperature still pretty pleasant at 78 degrees, and beaches will see a high right around 84, while inland areas will still get up into the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. The UV index will be high at a 10 tomorrow. And here's the extended forecast as we see it for the next 7 days. Not a lot of change. The only thing that noticeable will be the higher humidity values as we move into Wednesday. Our winds will become more southeasterly. And notice the high temperature on Friday looks to be really nice for Music on Main. It will be a bit on the warmer side, 88 degrees. And then the weekend, another gorgeous weekend ahead, albeit a little bit warmer than we saw this past weekend, with high temperatures in the upper 80s and lows into the upper 60s. Not quite summer, but it's starting to feel a little bit warmer here along the Sun Coast. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after this. Stick around.
Experience the Classical Music Celebration May 11th and 12th at the historic Sarasota Opera House. World-class musicians include guitar duo Charisma, currently touring with Andrea Bocelli. Tickets available online or by phone.
I can't believe they charged me this much. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Go to CashNetUSA.com now. If approved, you may get the money you need as soon as tomorrow.
Thanks. Who are you?
I'm CashNetUSA.com. Man.
Apply now at CashNetUSA.com.
Money's on the way with CashNet USA.
everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Here's today's job of the day. ABC7 is seeking a digital sales manager with at least 3 years experience in digital revenue development. Visit mysuncoast.com/job of the day to apply.
Checking primetime headlines for the first time since taking office, President Trump hosted a leader from an African nation at the White House. The two heads of state talked trade, security, and terrorism, but the visit comes just months after President Trump's alleged vulgar comments about African countries and Haiti. ABC's Kenneth Moten reports from the White House.
The U.S.-Nigerian alliance is key in the fight against terrorism in the African country, but much of the focus was on the relationship between President Trump and President Buhari after those alleged derogatory remarks. President Trump calling his relationship with Nigerian President Buhari great. Both men addressing allegations earlier this year that Trump used vulgar comments to describe African nations. At the time, the president and the White House denied those derogatory remarks.
We didn't discuss it, and you do have some countries that are in very bad shape and very tough places to live in.
Buhari also dismissing the reports.
I'm not sure about the validity or whether that allegation against the president was true or not. So the best thing for me is to keep quiet.
The president knows me, and he knows where I'm coming from, and I appreciate that.
The presidents spent the historic visit talking trade, human rights, and combating extremists like ISIS and Boko Haram.
The action by United States in trying to see the end of ISIS has helped us a lot.
We have very much decimated ISIS. Much has taken place over the last 12 months, but Boko Haram has been terrible.
To fight extremists, the Trump administration signed a $600 million deal with Nigeria last year to provide military planes and security equipment. President Trump also addressed the killings of Christians in the African country, saying the U.S. will be working on that problem very hard. Kenneth Moten, ABC News, the White House.
That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.